Memorial Day is this weekend in the United States, and I thought that one way both to honor American military and serve our applicant audience is to hear the story of a recent admit who is coming from the military. Our guest today is transitioning out of the military to start his MBA at Stanford GSB. Let's hear his story.
Welcome to Admission Straight Talk, the podcast dedicated to graduate admissions and helping you approach the application process thoughtfully and successfully. Your host is Accepted's founder and world-renowned admissions guru, Linda Abraham. At Accepted, our mission is to get you to that unforgettable moment when you read your acceptance email and shout, "Yes, I'm in!" Confident you'll be attending the perfect program to help you launch the career of your dreams.
Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me for this, the 471st episode of Admission Straight Talk. Thanks for tuning in. You've seen the stats that most people have a great return on their MBA investment. But what about you? Are you going to see that return? We've created a tool that will help you assess whether the MBA is likely to be a good investment for you individually. Just go to accepted.com/MBA ROI Calc, complete the quiz, and you'll not only get an assessment, but the opportunity to calculate different scenarios. In other words, if you make this much, you're going to have this kind of return. If you're going to make that much, you're going to have that kind of return. And if you spend this much, you can change that too. And it's all free. Again, use the calculator at accepted.com/MBA ROI Calc to obtain your complimentary assessment. I'd like to welcome to Mission Straight Talk, Captain David Harris of the U.S. Space Force. I first met David when he won a free consultation after attending an Accepted webinar. I was very impressed with him, and here's why. In addition to being a delightful person to speak with, I enjoyed our conversation, David graduated from the U.S. Air Force Academy in 2017. While there, he was the football team captain for the Academy's Division I team. Upon graduating, he worked first as a nuclear cruise missile manufacturing and production program manager for the U.S. Air Force and is currently serving in the United States Space Force's National Reconnaissance Office. Parallel to his service in the military, David has pursued internships in private equity and venture capital, participated in Management Leadership for Tomorrow's Professional Development Fellows Program, and co-founded his own investment management company, Icon Capital Group. David, welcome to Admission Straight Talk.
Hey, Linda, thanks again for having me on and appreciate the kind words. Definitely was a great conversation we had a few months back.
It was, yeah. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed getting to know you. And I look forward to getting to know you more here today. Tell you what, can you just tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up?
Yeah, no problem. So David Harris, originally from Dallas, Texas, Cowboys fan by law. Actually was born during a Cowboys game. Kind of laid the framework from an early pursuit. So played football growing up, and that ultimately opened the door for football scholarships at the Air Force Academy, where I chose based on a lot of factors, the leadership challenge there, academic challenge, and definitely got a lot of that and more that I was looking for at the Air Force Academy. Majored in management and played football, as you mentioned, and then graduated. And that's where I kind of caught the bug of finance. I really was interested, and once I got into my major, and specifically the finance course, and so decided to, hey, before I went active duty, I wanted to dive a little deeper into private equity, and so got an internship at Farrell's Capital down in Dallas before I went active duty at the Nuclear Cruise Missile Program Office, where I was working there for 3 years. A great opportunity to lead decent sized teams. It was up to 30, but then got my the real challenge when I went to the National Reconnaissance Office, leading a team of about 125, managing $250 million worth of software development for satellites. So it's definitely just an amazing experience. Really lucky. I tell people all the time, I had the luckiest military career of all time. Then from there, like you said, was able to do a venture capital internship before then. Headed to GSB, where I'll be looking to go private equity post MBA. And I think a quick update, I'm headed to Blackstone here at the beginning of June for a pre-MBA internship. So really excited about that.
Whoa, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. So you have this kind of, I would say, 3 parallel paths: football, Air Force Academy, and kind of technical, and business. What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. So I'll give 2 things. So one, I really love volunteering, the Reardon programs. I think what you're pretty familiar with coming from UCLA, really enjoyed just helping out the youth out in South California. That's been a big passion of mine for the past 4 years. And so actually flying out next week to go to the Reardon Gala. And so we'll be presenting a few awards there. But outside of that, really, I really enjoy cooking. I think when I was tall enough to reach the stove, I was cooking, scrambled eggs under my grandmother's supervision. But it's been cooking ever since, and she's been kind of that stewardess for our family, and so we've just grown up cooking the entire time. So
What do
much
you like
so.
to cook? What's your favorite cuisine? Southern,
Ooh, that's tough. But
Texas? I mean,
I know I'm going to be a little basic. I love steak. Steak is absolutely all-time favorite. I'll put my steak against any steakhouse.
okay.
But definitely love that's absolutely favorite. I'm definitely experimenting now. I'll say we actually, since we've grown up, me and my family siblings have grown up cooking. During Christmas, we actually have like an Iron Chef cook-off. And my mother and grandmother will pick the ingredients, and we have to create a dish. And so I like to try definitely different recipes. And I know my sister and my brother does too. So we practice different recipes throughout the year. Right now, I think I'm firming up my cacio e pepe recipe. Really, really, really love that. And I will say I'm the reigning champ, for the family, just in case anyone from the family here's it. Yeah, just, I am, no, just joking. It's a lot of fun. We definitely love cooking. It definitely brings us together as a family first.
Okay. All right. So if I'm hungry, I know where to go.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm at Palo Alto, you get a good meal.
All right. All right. Now, how did you decide to start your professional career in the military? You hinted that football had something to do with it, but there must have been more than that.
Yeah, it's really a long story, and it's kind of how I got interested in business as well. It kind of intertwined into that. It all started when I was younger. I was 5. It's one of those core memories, and it was at a family event, and all the kids were together somehow. They were hey, when you grow up. My cousins went before me, and so it was my turn. In front of everyone, I proudly stood up and I said, "Hey, I want to be a manager when I grow up." And, it kind of, you heard the music stop. Everybody's like, what do you mean by that? And so I was like, hey, I would be a manager of McDonald's. And now at this point, now everyone's really like, what? And my mother's a teacher, so they expect a little bit studious answer from me. And so my mother asked, what do you mean? So I'll never forget. My uncle and I love him. He started dying laughing, and so, but so my mom was like, explain to me, and she's like, hey, even though I was 5, I did kind of get what was happening around me. I know a lot of family members getting laid off. There was some, discrimination in the workplace. I heard just not good things going on. And, so like, if I was a manager, I could be in control of all of that. I could provide a safe atmosphere, safe workplace for, my family and the community around me. And that was my whole purpose. And I just kind of explained that in, 5-year-old terms to my mother. And she's like, that's perfect. She kind of hit my uncle and told him to stop laughing. But no. And so it's been that common theme throughout. I think that's just sense of community, kind of serving the community, definitely pushed me towards the military and towards team sports early on. And so that's initially how it started. And then once the Air Force Academy, that opportunity came around, it's kind of a meld of both of, playing football, of course, getting the academic rigor, but also then, after graduating, serving and continuing that just a sense of serving the community. And that's initially how I got started in the armed forces.
Okay, great. And how did your interest in business develop? I mean, there's many ways to serve, obviously, a community. So why specifically through, well, you mentioned the story with your uncle, but you grew up, you continued, right?
Yes, absolutely. So I always kept that sense, hey, I want to serve. And so that kind of, grew upon me volunteering. Now I had some free and I have more free time. I was able to, once I graduated the academy, I was able to, do a little bit more. And then also, like I said, once I got really that itch for business and I went to Pharaoh's Capital before I went active duty, I actually saw the transformation that could happen through access to capital, through impactful investments. We were specifically working on a roll-up of oncology companies down in the Midwest. And, we were able to do that. We were able to combine and create access with over 30 physicians. And that even opened up access to thousands of people in the Midwest. And then once you kind of take a step back and realize that, hey, the money that you just invested, it didn't cost people jobs. It actually helped people, find access in a very rural community, in the rural part of the Midwest. And so after seeing that, the wheels start turning, hey, that's something I definitely want to get back to. And I, remember that story, like, hey, this has kind of been that thread that's leading me here. And I'll take it back before I was selling candy in 8th grade. That was always, it's always something I was very industrious. And actually at the football banquet, I was awarded I got a student athlete of the year award, but also as an asterisk as the high selling candy seller in the district as well. So it's all, business always been there. But I mean, building on that Pharaoh's story, after learning at what you can do with access to capital, and then also looking back at a lot of communities I've involved with, and realizing the abysmal funding numbers that we have, and sort of definitely the Black community is just something that really ignited me to make the pivot to finance.
All right, great. I have two granddaughters, siblings, and they were playing one day school, and the older one was the teacher and the little one was the student. And so they were playing, and I think the little one acted up a little bit. Anyway, the big one says, "When I grow up, I want to be a teacher."
Mhm.
And the little one said, "When I grow up, I want to be the principal."
Mm.
And it so fit their personalities. I mean, watch out for that younger one. Okay.
Yeah.
She wants to run the place. All right. But let's go back to your story, not my grandchildren. All right. So you got this great foundation in management and leadership at the Air Force Academy. You obviously had this outstanding leadership experience in the military, in the Air Force, and now at the U.S. Space Program, Space Office, National Reconnaissance Office. Why did you need an MBA? Why did you want to pursue the MBA?
No, absolutely. So I think it's kind of threefold for me specifically. One, I mean, just from a mechanical perspective, it's definitely the easiest way to switch careers. And then after researching and looking like, hey, if I wanted to make this pivot to finance, how would I do it? I can't just stop working one day and then try to break into high finance, the buy side. So that was one thing. Just after looking and talking to a lot of people, just thankful for everyone picking up the phone and responding. They realized that the MBA was the way to do that. And then two, from taking it one step deeper, it was the best, the most efficient way for me to transpose my military experience into business acumen, and just that indicator to the marketplace, like, hey, I'm ready to make that next step, to finance. And so that was really a huge reason. Once I kind of figured out that's really how I could do that from the military, just coming from such a non-traditional background, it was immediately, that was the push that got me towards the MBA. And then a third piece that definitely I think we lose sight of is at the academy. I think I hinted at a little bit. I didn't have a lot of free time, and it was very very time constrained, especially with football. And so
Yeah.
a lot of that came at the detriment of things that sometimes that you enjoy, and definitely getting into a lot of the academics. You take every engineering possible, even though I was a business major. I mean, that's just part of the curriculum, and it definitely served me well in the military, especially going to the Space Force. I took aeronautical astronaut engineering. You kind of lose sight of everything. And so even though I enjoyed a lot of my business course, it wasn't as if I could I could throw myself deep as I could into those, into the academics behind it. And so now looking towards the MBA, is like, this is all business. This is all, this is everything that I found interesting, a lot of what I found interesting in college, and now I can dive deeper into that. So just really excited actually just to learn, hit the ground at GSB, and dive deeper into a lot of the phenomenal, instructors and courses that they have.
Yeah. Oh, that's an incredible opportunity for you.
Yeah.
What were the biggest challenges you faced in the MBA application process?
I think I'm be a broken record here. It was a GMAT for me. I mean, the test is, that's definitely the hardest piece that most people say. True for me, it was definitely it was a fight. I will say that. I think I took it six times, times, and luckily got the score that was good enough. But I mean, it was just a sludge. I mean, and it's different for everyone. But I mean, I think it took me 6-7 months of dedicated, every day grinding it out. But I will say I got lucky. I started during that towards the end of 2020, so it's peak pandemic time. So definitely had a lot of a lot of extra time to study. I will say I got lucky in that regard. But no, definitely the test, target test prep, and just creating a group of people that applied with me made it that much better. I mean, I definitely couldn't have done it without my team, former Air Force Academy grads that we all applied this year. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Did you have any particular challenges in terms of either the essays or the interview prep, or interviews rather, or any of that part of the application, or was it all pretty easy, pretty straightforward as far as you were concerned?
No, I mean, it's all tough. That was, it's very rough. And I think I did MLT MBA prep. And so definitely helped out a lot with the essay portion of it. Really got my story down. And the interview, I was like, we were saying like, hey, if we just get the interview, that we feel like we can make it past there. Definitely, just from that perspective, just speaking. And so, just given a lot of our job description is doing that, especially as a program manager. So I was like, hey, if I just get a shot to get in front of them, I'll take advantage of that. So I was like, hey, just if I can get to interview, I can capitalize. That's kind of my mindset as far as the whole process. But I was like, got to get the score first. Got to get the score before I even get there.
Got to get the score. Great. Okay. Now, you mentioned a couple of times MLT, which is Management Leadership for Tomorrow, and you participated in their professional development program. How did it help you? Obviously, you had the support group that you've already mentioned, but what other forms of assistance did it provide you?
Yeah. So I'm a double MLTer, and proud to say so. The MBA prep program and the professional development. Definitely will touch on both of them. It is an absolutely phenomenal cohort. Just steaming with excellence. I'm just glad to be a part of it, honestly. But I think that's one of the biggest pieces I got was that community of just high performing and all. Moving to the same path. I think it was about 300, maybe 300 plus of us for the MBA prep program, and definitely just from that, just from the community perspective, was absolutely amazing. We meet up. We lifelong friends just from there. And business partners from there. So it has been phenomenal just getting to know my cohort and the cohorts, the past and future. I'd say the second piece was, I got to give a shout out to my coach, Coach Candace Gonzalez. She was, absolute, even though she's my MBA coach, she's more like a therapist, just going through the process. It was literally, I think her, the way she was kept me sane throughout a lot of this and helped us get through. And then the professional development program has also been phenomenal. We just had our initial conference 2 weeks ago. We have the next one at the end of the month. And it has been just amazing just getting out in front of the leading, firms worldwide. We get to talk about, Goldman Sachs, just in understanding what they're looking
Blackstone.
for. Yeah. Absolutely. And just understanding a lot from where they're coming from and how they're looking to assess talent and grow their business with very open ESG, DEI minded individuals moving forward. So it was really, it's just a great experience learning from the spearhead of finance.
Great. Yeah. Now, one challenge frequently faced by applicants transitioning from the military to business school, or business for that matter, is just translating their military experience into civilian terms. Did you feel that was a challenge for you, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, I think that was definitely it's a huge challenge, and the 25, 30 iterations of my resume definitely speak towards that challenge. but no, it's definitely something that is extremely nuanced, and you have to get it right, especially coming from the military. But I will say there are so many resources to ensure that this happens. One being prior vet. Every vet that I talked to was extremely, supportive. Like, hey, send me everything you want. Anything you want me to read, I can help make sure it makes sense. Because if I can't understand it, I know, someone that isn't even part of the military is understand. So I would say just the vet community, across business schools have been phenomenal. And then a lot of the programs, Service to School, I didn't use that program, but I definitely have heard a lot of great things. A lot of people said that they help with that. And then also, go back to the coaching. I think a lot of it is a lot of practice, and it's understanding like, hey, if I send this to you, and like I said, I did get a lot of value out of it because I sent this to you, and you asked me a few things. I'm like, hey, does this make sense? And you telling me, hey, yeah, poke this a little bit, maybe not make that as technical. And so it's definitely reaching out and talking to a lot of people, specifically on both sides of the aisle. Like I said, reach out to the vets, but also reach out to the people that evaluate this, and ask family members like, hey, I asked my girlfriend, like, hey, if you read this, did you understand what was going on? And she definitely gave me some candid feedback. She was probably the initial 10 of those iterations of my resume. She's definitely fantastic, helped me. But I definitely think that's a big piece of it. It's just getting out in front and making sure that both sides understand what's going on and just understanding the process. So it's definitely a tough ask, and especially in a classified environment. My work at the National Reconnaissance Office was actually both were top secret. So that's also something you have to do to make sure you don't put anything you're not supposed to. But it's definitely ways to get around it, and that's just part of the iterative process. Just going over it.
And I think schools would understand that you can't get super specific, given,
Exactly.
security clearances, of course. Yeah, yeah. How did you decide where to apply? Did you apply only to Stanford or other places also?
Yeah, so I mean, this was another big thing, kind of looking out. Once I finished up at Fair, I was like, hey, if I want to do this, I'm gonna need to get an MBA, and then the next question is, which one are best suited for that? And so it was specifically all of the finance, the top finance schools
Right.
where I was thinking NYU, Wharton, GSB, HBS, Booth, CBS. I mean, those are. I mean, it's just those usual suspects in the finance realm. Where I was like, I probably have the best chance of pivoting to finance from these schools, specifically only because I want to do finance. And so that was, and so from the very beginning, those were, where I was gunning. And also just by happenstance, I mean, the community surrounding those schools were absolutely fantastic, especially the vets community, like I've already alluded to. I mean, just the sheer amount of support I got from each one of those schools it was absolutely phenomenal. And so they definitely made it easy on help picking the school based on my career goals. And so was happy to, just excited to, learn more about the programs. It was kind of, just kind of self-selecting towards those six.
That's great. I think it makes sense. I'm constantly counseling applicants. Choose your school based on your career goals.
Yeah.
All right. That just, you're here, you want to get there. Which schools are going to take you there? Be the best bridge. This is you might even remember me saying that, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly,
I think
exactly.
you were doing that, and I think it's going to pay off long term phenomenally for you. What are you planning to get involved with when you're at Stanford? What are you planning to concentrate on? I assume finance, but more than that.
No, absolutely. So yeah, beyond the PE club, definitely want to get involved in the Impact Fund. It's their student-led VC fund, and I've heard just phenomenal things about it. I actually wrote about it in my essay. Realizing that you can learn from one of the professors actually, and he's one of the managing partners of the fund. So I mean, you can learn in class, some initiative one day, and then later on that day, as you have a meeting in Impact Fund, put that into practice right then. So that's definitely one of the things I'm extremely excited to potentially get involved with. Another is the Black Business Student Association. Is really amazing program. It definitely helped me out a lot. Shout out to Devon, who's the outgoing president. I mean, this has been phenomenal from that perspective. Definitely look forward to being involved there. And then the Vets Club. I think that's I'll probably find more when I get there, but that'll definitely round out it just from the amount of support that I got from once again. I think from those two clubs definitely helped me out, so much throughout the whole entire process, and can't wait to get there and give back while I'm there. And also we do have it isn't homegrown, but it's definitely named after Stanford. It's Leland, the consulting service. Definitely volunteering there just to help people, with the application process, specifically for GSB perspective. So definitely excited to help out more people and help out with the admissions as well, with Will Torres. So really excited just to, I know that's one of the things you talk about, you got this FOMO, and I definitely am going to be feeling it. Definitely excited to get into a lot once I get GSB, take advantage.
We actually had on Admission Straight Talk a few years ago, I can link to the show, a Stanford GSB grad who had a business idea, and he and his partner went to a professor to talk about it. And at the end of the coffee, it was a coffee chat, the professor wrote out a check for $50,000. Okay. It launched their career, launched the business. They then sold it to somebody else. They're now doing venture capital. It's GSB story. I don't remember the story, but I will link to it from the show notes if anybody wants to listen to it. And they're now on another startup. I think we had him on again.
Yeah,
but, it's quite the story. Yeah.
No.
What are your post MBA plans? I mean, ideally, I got his finance. I got that one, but what area of finance?
No, absolutely. So I mean, right now, specifically interested in private equity. I think that's after that internship before I went active, it really opened my eyes to the amount of good you can do with investing. And so private equity, and specifically in the tech realm, is something that I've been passionate about, since for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's specifically exactly what I'm going to target post MBA. I'm definitely going to give my fair share of that here in a few weeks at Blackstone, with their tax opportunities group. So just really excited to dive deeper in that and post MBA get secure spot there.
What advice do you have for those interested in pursuing a graduate degree and coming from the military?
Yeah, this is really something big that I think we as vets, we try to, get the message across is you shouldn't, this definitely should not be something you're afraid of. I know it's the military. A lot of us, we started out at 18, maybe if you went enlisted first, maybe you went, to straight to college and went from college. It's all you've really known, in your professional career. And one of the things you got to get over is that, the unknown, it, can be good. And so, because everything's scheduled, you have your assignment a year in advance, you know where you're going, you know what your job's going to be. You pretty much always have a job. And so it's getting over that ambiguity that comes in the private sector. I think that gets a lot of vets, especially from business school, like, hey, I'm taking out, how much, to not have a job for 2 years. And, a lot of they have families like take care of, and it's just understanding that that's normal. It's people do that, and we have a lot of support from a financial perspective from a vet, and it's just understanding that that, like, there's no reason to be afraid about that, and hit on the financial piece. There's so many avenues that you can tap into specifically for vets, VA and a lot of that. And whatnot. So I would say that's really the biggest piece is don't be scared, don't be afraid of the unknown. And I hear it so often, like, yeah, I don't know. But it's just coming from that sense of we have built so much stability into our lifestyle that it's definitely hard to break that. But it just reach out. Obviously reach out to me, reach out to the vets in any of the schools you want, and just talk. A lot, we've all been through there. I actually separated, in March. I actually separated in March, and so it's just been, it's definitely been an adjustment. It's been an adjustment, especially with what's going on with the world. But it's definitely doable, and look forward to the future.
What would you have liked me to ask you?
Ooh, that's a great question. One thing I do wish you would ask is who was your inspiration throughout this whole process? And
fantastic question.
I think it's no better time than to definitely say my mother. I know we got Mother's Day coming this weekend. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Mother's Day on Sunday, yeah. This is being recorded right before Mother's Day, though it'll air right before Memorial Day.
Gotcha. But I definitely, I attribute, a lot of who I am to her, specifically just seeing her work ethic. She was a elementary school teacher, since I was born, and actually taught me in the 3rd grade. She's my teacher in 3rd grade. Definitely don't recommend that, but it was, but no, definitely. Just seeing how hard she worked and how passionate she was to help, the next generation, and still is. I just was visiting with her a few weeks ago, and she was, just telling me about some of the issues she has going on with a lot of her students teaching in the virtual world. And it's still just, it amazes me that she keeps, that level of dedication, that level of passion over, 20, 33 years and counting. And so I can't say it enough that, thank my mother was definitely the biggest inspiration in my whole journey so far. And so definitely want to give a shout out to her and all the mothers listening to the podcast, and definitely you, Linda.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you'll share the podcast with your mother just for this last part. She'll enjoy it, if not the rest of it. And I also want to thank you for your service. And I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today and share your background and your story, your experience, and your perspective. Now, you had previously shared that people can catch up with you on LinkedIn. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the best place, David Harris. And you can Google Space Force, and that's probably easy. I know it's a lot of David Harris, but that's probably the easiest way to get you. Yeah,
all right, great. And we're going to link to David's LinkedIn profile from the show notes, which you can find at exhibit.com/471. Quick reminder, don't miss the MBA ROI calculator. Find out how much your MBA investment could benefit you financially. Take the quiz at exhibit.com/MBA ROI calc. That's MBA ROI CALC. Listener, thank you too for tuning in to this, our 471st episode. If you are concerned that you missed something in today's show or wanted to take a note or two, but couldn't because you were driving, jogging, or doing anything else, we've done it for you. We've taken those notes. You'll find them at exhibit.com/471. This is Admission Straight Talk, produced by Accepted, and I am your host, Linda Abraham. I'll talk to you again next week.